Hey guys, NicMakesPlays here. Today we go over my Overwhelm deck. Overwhelm's deck that's extremely strong. It's been popping up a lot more all across Runeterra. There's a bunch of different ways to build it, so I really want to make this video to show how I prefer to build the Overwhelm deck. Unlike other aggro decks that are like, a bunch of small units and burn spells to finish off, this deck's the opposite. It's huge power packed into like singular units that have Overwhelm. And you place so many Overwhelm units, your opponent, even if they block them, if they don't, they usually just die, which is satisfying for the Overwhelm player. So I like to go over the way I like to do it. I could briefly go over the other styles, but I think Overwhelm's really, really strong right now. So let's get into it. All right, first card, 3 Omen Hawk. 3 Omen Hawk. When I'm summoning, grant the top 2 allies from deck +1/+1. This is the 1-drop of the deck, or one of the 2 1-drops. This is really strong because certain cards, when they get the extra stats, are super, super powerful. Such as Ruthless Raider. Let's say you draw this Raider. This is a 3-1 with Overwhelm and Tough. But being a 4-2 with Tough, it's really strong. Any extra help you can get with Tough is big. So if you play Omen Hawk as your 1-drop and you still happen to draw as your 2-drop, it's really good. This comes a 4-3, it's really good. They deal more damage. The Overwhelm units deal more damage, obviously, the Overwhelm. Draven as a 4-4 is very strong. He's already pretty insane as a 3-3. Imagine him as a 4-4. Alpha Wildclaw, just Overwhelm with beefy stats. 7-6. This regularly gets buffed, at least in my experience. I get it buffed a lot. And becoming an 8-7, that is so tough to deal with. So a lot of extra damage can be chipped in. Iron Ballista, 5-4 with Omen Hawk. So really good. Really good stuff to buff your Overwhelm units and get more damage to Overwhelm. Then 3 Precious Pet. This is probably the best 1-drop right now, Noxus. Like, you have a few options, such as Legion Saboteur. Some people play this. It's actually pretty good. And there's other ones like this. But basically, between this and Legion Sabotage or their 1-drop, you can either run or know their 1-drop. I like Precious Pet instead of Saboteur or just the Omen Hawk, because the more early game units you have, the better you have to start your pressure in aggro decks. So I want to at least have 6 units. Precious Pet's really good because it has Fearsome, and opposing units like Jagged Butcher or Legion Saboteur, Zonite Urchin, Krusty Codger, this can attack over all of them. Lenari Dustbringer, so yeah, very good to get the Fearsome in and get the guaranteed 2 damage. This usually reliably puts out the most damage, is why I like it, because it has the 2 attack with Fearsome. This can get blocked, and it only has the 1 if it gets blocked. So yeah, I like it. 3 Legion Grenadier. Pretty interesting. So unlike other aggro decks, I like to go wide and have like a big board your opponent can't block everything. This one knows it's going to get blocked, but you want to get the damage in where you can. Legion Grenadier is really strong because it just can be good on defense to block and guarantee the damage. It also can trigger Wolf Rider. A lot of times you get the Plunder on Wolf Rider. You can open attack with Grenadier first. If they take the damage, that gets Plunder. If they kill it, it gets the 1 damage. So either way, it can guarantee the Wolf Rider. Other decks might run things like a House Spider, like other aggro decks, and such like that, because they like to go wide. But again, usually you can't go wider than your opponent in this deck, so it's just better to have the condensed units. 3 Ruthless Raider, really good 2-drop. Overwhelm, Tough, 3-1. Overwhelm's extremely strong in this deck because it gets all the chip damage, which is a strategy a lot of decks can't deal with. But the more Overwhelm units you have, the better it is for Decisive Maneuver. So she's really good to have a cheap unit that gets buffed with Decisive Maneuver. We'll get to that later. 3 Troll Chant. So another thing different about traditional aggro is they usually don't run cards that are more, I guess, not burn spells or like don't directly do damage. But Troll Chant is so strong in this game in general. Probably one of Fairwood's best cards, if not their best. But just to get field control. So give an ally +0/+2 to give an enemy -2/-0 this round. I'll give a simple example on why this is so strong. Let's say you have Ruthless Raider and you got Iron Ballista, right? You're getting a trade. You're trading your Iron Ballista for their 3-3. They're trading their 3-2 for your Ruthless Raider. What you can do is you can make both win their trades. You can give health to one of your guys, making Iron Ballista live, and you can -2 attack on the one dealing with the Ruthless Raider, depending on how much attack it has, and you can make them both live. And you can just get field control really easily with Troll Chant by keeping 2 units alive and killing both their units in combat trades. It's set up nicely. It helps dodge removal spells, all kinds of stuff like that. It's just very versatile, very strong, and can really protect your Overwhelm units, your beefy Overwhelm units. Keep them on the board and keep swinging for the trample damage, or the Overwhelm damage, which I should go over real quick. Overwhelm, excess damage I deal to my blocker is dealt to Nexus, so if you have 3 attack here, your opponent only has 2 health, it deals 1 damage to the Nexus, because they weren't able to block the full damage. All right, moving on. 3 Calling Strike. So this is a meta-dependent thing. In the past, this deck hasn't really ran this, but this is super good versus Twisted Fate, Aphelios, all kinds of stuff like that, which are very prevalent in the meta right now. So this is really good. Another cool thing, besides just being good removal, is that let's say you're attacking with an Overwhelm unit like Alpha Wildclaw, okay? So 7/6 Overwhelm, right? If they block with a 3/3 and you were to Calling Strike it, it removes it from the combat, right? Which means that this 7 damage with the Overwhelm goes directly to Nexus. So again, I'll read it one more time, this is important. If you attack with the Overwhelm and you get rid of their blocker that's blocking the Overwhelm, you just do direct damage to the Nexus with Overwhelm. So Overwhelm, excess damage, I deal to blockers, dealt to my Nexus. Since you remove the blocker, it's all excess damage, goes straight to the Nexus. So you can Calling Strike blockers to push for extra damage, which is a cool thing too. 3 Draven, one of the best 3-drops in the whole game. Insanely strong. I think Draven's very, very good in this deck. I'll go over the other champions people play instead after sometimes, but I love Draven. I think he's one of the best 3-drops in the game. And you play him, you get the axe, you summon him, you attack, you play him, you get the axe, you attack, you get the axe. You can use both axes, like one discarding the other axe, to get a free +1 attack later. But really, just a 3/3 quick attack is so strong. He almost guarantees 3 damage, which is really good. Any guaranteed damage you get in the early game is great, because in the end, with the Overwhelm units, they usually can't block all the damage, so it makes it easier to kill them. I feel that putting on 3 is amazing, because if they block it, they lose their blocker. If they don't block it, they take 3, and it usually just always swings the game in your favor, so I'm a big fan of Draven in this deck. And a cool thing about his champ spell is that a battling ally strikes a battling enemy, same with Calling Strike, you remove their blocker, all Overwhelm damage goes directly to Nexus, so you can get huge Overwhelm damage if you get his champ spell. If you do level him up, which is kind of rare in this deck, but if you do, then he does have Overwhelm himself as well, which is nice. Alright, 3 Iron Ballista is your other 3-drop of the deck. Pretty straightforward, Overwhelm 4/3. Usually, if you play it and you attack, they have to block the 3/3 or something like that, and then you get the 1 damage from Overwhelm. If they don't have an answer to it, you're chipping in multiple times, which is great. If it's buffed up Omen Hawk, it's a 5/4, which is super hard to deal with. In Runeterra, the jump from 3 health to 4 health makes things so much harder to deal with, so out of range of Get Excited and such. So this is buffed by Omen Hawk, it's very powerful, and it's a pretty cheap Overwhelm unit, which is really good with Decisive Maneuver, which we'll get to later. Alright. Wolf Rider. Interesting card. I was going between 2 and 3. It's not a card you're doing a double draw, but it's also a card you would like to see at the right turns. It's pretty hit or miss, but there's not many other alternatives. I like it overall, so let's just read it. 4/3 Overwhelm's the same as Iron Ballista, but plunder, get an empty mana gem. So what you want to do is on turn 4, if you're attacking, you attack like Iron Ballista, Draven, Ruthless Raider, Grandier, whatever. You chip 1 damage, and then you get the Wolf Rider plunder. So next turn, on turn 5, you get the extra mana gem, so you get 6 mana. So so you jump from turn 4 Wolf Rider straight to like Alpha Wildclaw on the next turn, which is 7/6 stats. The Overwhelm is huge, very hard to deal with. This card's insanely good in this deck. Or Darius, 6/5 Overwhelm, pretty good in his own right. Levels up, becomes a 10/6. So you get this huge jump where like if you're already doing well, your opponent just can't deal with like the onslaught of big units you play after that, because you can go Alpha Wildclaw, or Alpha Wildclaw Darius the next turn. That's very, very powerful. So he's used mostly for his plunder, but even without that, he's still a 4/3 Overwhelm for Decisive Maneuver, which we're going to get to now. This card is seriously one of the strongest cards in the whole deck, if not the best card in the entire deck. I cannot stress this enough. A lot of people play 2. I don't know if people don't play. I think everyone plays at least 2. You need to play 3. I can actually back this up a few different ways. I guess I'll just real quick say, there's a seasonal tournament, which is Top 700 Masters. There's only been 1 so far. The first one ever, the person who won played 3 Decisive Maneuver. I interviewed people who went 5-0, so they didn't lose a round in the first 5 rounds. And a lot of Overwhelm players didn't make it. But every single Overwhelm player that I interviewed that made it ran 3 Decisive Maneuvers, and they really sold me on it. I think I interviewed 3 or 4 different people who made it to Overwhelm, and all of them ran 3 Decisive Maneuver. So this card is insane. I can now just go into actually what it does, and I personally, I feel like this is like the strongest card deck when I play the deck too. So here's what it does. It's insane. It's so insane. All right, stun an enemy. Give all allies +2/+0 this round. So why is this card so strong? It's 5 mana. It's a slow spell. Well, here's what you do with it. Let's say you have a field of like Ruthless Raider. You got Iron Ballista, and you got Alpha Wildclaw. A lot of times you'll have this field on their turn, then becomes your turn. If you develop a unit, they can maybe, yeah, they play blockers and stuff, but a lot of times, if you can just open attack with a strong defense maneuver, it wins you the game. Here's the interaction that makes it key, and here's why open attacking this is so strong. If you attack with Alpha Wildclaw, or whatever, any Overwhelm unit, and you stun their blocker, it removes it from combat, which means that the Overwhelm damage goes directly to Nexus. Like now we said with Culling Strike and Draven's Whirlwind, Death, whatever, that if you remove the blocker, that the excess damage goes directly to Nexus. That's what Decisive Maneuver does. So if you stun an enemy, it goes directly to Nexus. So if you stun Alpha Wildclaw's blocker, then it does exactly 7 damage directly to Nexus. But Decisive Maneuver also gives all your allies +2/+0 this round. So Alpha Wildclaw, if you were to stun its blocking enemy, it deals 9 to Nexus directly by itself. That's a lot of damage to directly. But it also buffs your other ones like Iron Ballista and this Raider, which they chip in even more Overwhelm damage. This card allows you to do 10+ damage with Overwhelm like it's nothing. Like honestly, like it just snap the fingers. It's so crazy. I've dealt 20+ damage with this card. Probably. I don't know. I've done a lot of damage to this card. That sounds like a lot. I've dealt a lot. This card is insane. You guys will see. You guys will see. So really strong, and the more Overwhelm units you have, and just more units in general, they get buffed. A lot of times I have Omen Hawk from like turn 1 or whatever, and I kind of just leave it there until I get Decisive Maneuver, and then becomes a 3/3 attacks. And a lot of times they won't block it because there's bigger threats they need to be blocking, or they're going to die, and then Omen Hawk can chip for 3 damage. And, this card's insanely strong. It's kind of cool also that the stun gives you access to like live. You can use it defensively as well. But it's mostly an offensive card, and it just pushes for more damage than anything I've ever seen in this kind of deck, so very strong. But the main interaction is stun the enemy that's blocking the strongest Overwhelm unit and gets direct damage and buffs everything else, so very good. 3 Alpha Wildclaw, 7, we've run this a few times, 7/6 Overwhelm. Wolf Rider can ramp right into this card. These stats are really hard to deal with. It usually always gets chip damage in. It sometimes can attack multiple times without dying because it has 6 health, which is so much. Buffed off Omen Hawk, it becomes an 8/7, which is even harder to deal with. This card is just, as funny as it is, just raw stats. When I played in the beta, I always thought this card was like decent, but you know, when you start playing more, you realize it's more of the game than just stats. But in this Overwhelm deck, stats and Overwhelm is exactly what you want. And this card is a force to be reckoned with. Next, we have Darius. When your opponent's at 10 or less health, then he becomes a 10/6 with Overwhelm. His chance spells Decimates. You can get reach to the Nexus without attacking if you need the 4 damage to the Nexus through this. Very strong. This is just the strongest attack Overwhelm unit in your deck, so very good. Next is Ancient Yeti. This card's super interesting. So let's just read it real quick. 7 mana, 5/5 Overwhelm. Round end, reduce my cost by 1. So you want to open this card in your opening hand. The sooner you open with it, the more it gets discounted, like right from the beginning. So you can, if you open this card, you can play it on turn 4. It gets reduced to 4 by turn 4, and you play a 5/5 Overwhelm on turn 4, which is really, really powerful. Yeah, this card is great. This is one of the main reasons to be in Freyord. There used to be some other variants in Targon, but people would play the Freyord version just for Ancient Yeti. It's so good. Yeah, the more you keep it, like let's say you have multiples in opening hand, you can play on turn 4, then play on turn 5. Sometimes you can just keep it until it gets down to like 1. And this card is just usually always gives you the bang for your buck, where you're playing it for a cost that's much, much less than how strong 5/5 Overwhelm is. So yeah, you want to open with this card. You want to open in this deck with 1-drop, 2-drop, and then Ancient Yetis is good. 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop is good, and then 1-drop, 2-drop Ancient Yeti is good. But the more Ancient Yetis you see in the beginning, the stronger it is. Even if you like miss the first few turns because your hand's clogged up with Ancient Yetis, you will come back because you'll be playing 5/5 Overwhelm, 5/5 Overwhelm, 5/5 Overwhelm, and they're all discounted. It's very strong. Last card, Battle Fury. Battle Fury. Grant an ally +8/+4. This card's actually really good in this deck. A lot of times you'll have like Alpha Wildclaw or whatever, like Ancient Yeti in the field, and then you'll draw for turn, and then you just open attack and play Battle Fury, or open attack and play Decisive Maneuver, and then you just close the game. Hush just got nerfed to cost 3, so less people play it, but in general, a lot of decks can't deal with this. Like, think about this versus like Draven Ezreal, like decks with PNZ removal and stuff. They can't beat this, like, because they have no way to remove it. Even versus freezes, you might be thinking, well, what if they have Harsh Winds? You don't have to use it right away. So you can attack with like a field of like Alpha Wildclaw and like Iron Ballista or whatever, and then they're like, oh, okay, I'll Harsh Wind this, I don't want to die. And then after the Harsh Winds is over, you play Battle Fury, and then you do 8 damage, and you can kill them. Another crazy thing is it's Grant. It's not for the turn. It's just Grant. It's just permanent. So they don't kill your guy. I mean, you get a 15. What is that? 15-10, 15-10 Alpha Wildclaw, and that's hard to deal with. A lot of decks can't just deal with things like that. So next turn you get to kill them. Very very strong potential with open attacking with Decisive Maneuver and Battle Furies in this deck, which is nice. Especially to play around like Icefall Archers and stuff, like things that they develop that are actually annoying, like Reckoning Sentry, stuns through the units like that. So very strong. Now I must mention there's a few different ways to play this deck. This is my favorite variant. This is also the variant that I think is the best. I know that I think someone just won a tournament with Draven at Darius, and it gave me some validation because I've always thought this was like the way to go. But there are other versions, and I should mention them. The other versions of the deck involve Sejuani. You can run Sejuani. So she, given enemy Frostbite and Vulnerable this round, she's good as removal. Like, you can run Sejuani. A lot of people run Sejuani Darius and Alpha Wildclaw. They don't run Draven, they run Trapper instead, which we'll get to as well real quick. But yeah, Sejuani is very good. In the Sejuani versions, you can run cards like Death Hand for removal, which also can trigger Sejuani, actually try and get her level up, and you can start frostbiting things. But really just the removal and the guaranteed overwhelm is also nice because you can give something. Let's say if her like Alpha Wildclaw, you give like a 1 health unit the frostbite vulnerable, and you chip for the damage you want. You get the guaranteed huge damage through making their low health unit vulnerable, and you use the overwhelm. And yeah, just go to removal. That's one variant. Another variant is Tryndamere. If I would dial up instead, it's just a big bomb that does a lot of overwhelm damage, but mainly it's for a card of Versus and Outriders, the Freyr Legion card, and I guess we'll get to that now. So real quick cards you could play instead. Elixir of Irons, good protections, we'll run it. Saboteur is good instead of Precious Pet if you prefer that. I think Precious Pet's slightly better personally. In the Freyr Allegiance version, you want to run Sentry as one of your 2-drops because you need more Freyr cards and you don't want to run too many Noxus cards. House Spider, some people run that. This is played in the Freyr Allegiance version. This card's okay in this deck too. Transfusion's decent. Some people have been playing Gloryseeker and Reckoning, but it's a bit more experimental. Death's Hand, this goes to Sejuani version. Trapper, this is played in the Freyr version. This card's actually just really good. If you don't run Draven and you want to run Sejuani Darius, Sejuani Darius, then this is your other 3-drop besides Ballista. Is when I'm summoning, create an Enraged Yeti and top 3 cards of your deck. Or you don't run Ballista if you want to get the Allegiance version, but version Trapper is just really good to get the Yetis. Buffing this off Outriders is really strong, but let's hope to get to Outriders now. You can run this in the Freyr Allegiance version because you need more Freyr cards. So what is this Allegiance version I keep talking about? Here we go. Avarice and Outriders, Overwhelm, 4 mana, 3/3. Allegiance, grant the top ally in your deck +3/+3 and Overwhelm. A lot of people run this version with like Tryndamere, Sejuani, with all the Freyr cards I just went over. I think it's weaker. I think it's just honestly weaker than the version without it, and it's way less consistent. I can tell you that much. You're cutting a lot of things for this card. It's a strong card, don't get me wrong, but you're just cutting so many really important Noxus cards, and you have to run like awkward cards like Tavern Keeper, Icefall Archers, like Sentry instead of like actual damage. It's a bit less aggro and a bit more mid-range because the version with Tryndamere and this Outrider card actually traditionally runs 3 Battle Fury. It's less of an aggro style and more of a, okay, we just kind of control the game and then we play like huge units buffed and Tryndamere's and Battle Furies, and we win more in the late game rather than like the early game. So I guess it's like less susceptible-ish to like healing and stuff and more of like giant bombs at the end, but I think this version, overall, I prefer it. But yeah, this is the Outriders version. And then is there any other card that people would play in this deck? So I think it's cute. It could be Scarvator Reaver. Because there's not really good 5-drops. That's another reason that Wolf Riders played. It's not really good 5-drops, but I don't know if you can justify playing this. Oh! New card. Okay, this card's sick. I actually like it. I haven't found space in it right now, but you could definitely... It's like not bad at all. This card's good. I like it. You can splash it in. An ally strikes an enemy. If it has Overwhelm, deal excess damage to the enemy Nexus. This card actually at first may seem like bad because it's a 5-mana slow spell. But it does a few things the deck doesn't have access to previously, which is interaction. The deck has very low interaction without Culling Strike and stuff like that, like Death's Hand. So it gives you more interaction. And it also, like, removal. And it also gives you a way to win your opponent's turn. Like, you know how other decks have, like, Atrocity to win in your opponent's turn and finish the game? This is like a win con on your opponent's turn. Because you can't Decisive Maneuver or use Overwhelm on your opponent's turn. So this gives you interaction, it gives you alternate win conditions, gives you things in your opponent's turn. I like this card overall. It's pretty cool. Trying to see if there's anything else. This should be it. Oh, Captain Farron's. We'll play this. It's good. All right, well, that's the deck. Let's get right into the games. All right, I'm playing in Master Ladder EU right now. We're up against Ezreal Karma. So I usually like to mulligan for 1-drop, 2-drop in Ancient Yeti. We have time to draw the Iron Ballista and the Draven, so let's keep this because the sooner you get this, the more potent it is. We drew 2, which is interesting. I said in the deck guide, like, don't draw your 1-drops, it's not a big deal if you have like these instead because you are going to retaliate really hard later. And I think that's what we're going to see this game is that we're passing the first few turns, but now we get the ball rolling, and we're going to have a lot of pressure moving on forward. This is a phenomenal draw. We banked the first 3 turns of spell mana, so this gives us things to use that for if we need it. So we have Draven here. Very good. Gives us an axe even just on summon. And he's just going to pass. He loses 3 mana here, which is pretty brutal for him, if you ask me. So we keep this in our hand. They keep discounting, but I think this is the best pressure we can put on him. Is with this Ancient Yeti here. Like, we can't play both these in one turn. I'm just with the Yeti here. We actually keep this one for a while. On turn 5, we can go Ballista Grenadier. Okay, that's fine. So palm. Let's try and get Draven in here. Alright, we get 3 damage here. This is why Draven's just one of the reasons Draven's so strong is that he can't be blocked, and now we have 1 extra damage of reach. Clue with the axes, they're also very versatile. You can use them like in all different situations. Not just going for game, but just simple combat trades and such. Alright.
Don't blink or you'll miss me.
That is slightly annoying. We can play this so that his Mystic Shot doesn't kill anything. But these all have certain amounts of health. So I want to play this turn, but I don't want to die to Mystic Shot. So I'm gonna pass, wait him to use the Mystic Shot, and then play Grenadier. I think he's too far behind right now to not use this Mystic Shot. Just pass back to us. Alright, now that we know this is safe from the Mystic Shot, we can develop it here. Alright, one turn. We can keep playing this discount, honestly. Ooh, this is really strong here, but I'm sure he has denies and stuff. Let's just keep it simple right now. You can go wide with Iron Ballista plus Ancient Yeti. That's 5. And then we still wouldn't be able to afford the Decisive maneuver. I think Wild Claw's good here. Then in the next few turns, we can develop these, plus what we draw, and we get a huge Decisive maneuver potentially. I did not see that coming, I won't lie. Alright, well, we're not going to give up our damage here. So, let's push for the damage. Yes, this is a great blocker, I admit, but we still... Is this Death Ray? We still need to get the damage in. The more chip damage we do, the easier it'll be to finish him with Decisive Maneuver. Like, we can block this later. Or stun it later with Decisive Maneuver. And get out of the way and push for huge damage. He might Death Ray this here, and then we can just Troll Chant just to keep it alive. Interesting. Okay. So these will trade... Interesting. We can just do this here and put him at 1, or we can go for lethal straight up. So on Draven. Alright. GG's. Didn't even have to use Decisive Maneuver or the other Ancient Yeti or anything. So this is something that's really cool with the Whirling Death I said in the deck guide. Get the direct damage. We can see it here. This goes direct damage because the blocker was removed. There you go. It's a -7. GG's. Alright, we're playing Aphelios Twisted Fate. Considered the best deck in the game right now. Let's see what we can do. We opened a 1-drop with Precious Pet's amazing. We have Ancient Yeti. This is really good. The earlier you get it, the earlier it starts getting that round end discount. We're going to draw into this later as well as this, even though this card is insanely strong. We want to mulligan for 1-drop, 2-drop, Ancient Yeti. This isn't a 2-drop, you can still play it on turn 2, so I'm totally cool with this hand. Let's just hope we draw cards that are relatively low cost so we can put a lot of pressure in the early game. And then the time's right, we draw into our higher mana cards as well. So something for turn 3 is probably best priority. This is actually fine as a draw here. Yeah, we didn't open it, but even just a turn late is still really strong. So we'll be getting these discounts. Rack it up quite nicely. Alright. Attack here. So we've chipped in 6 damage with the Precious Pets. Maybe Aphelios' turn will start now. Guiding Touch to heal. That could be a Nightfall trigger for Aphelios. That's really good. Yep, very strong from our opponent. Let's see how this game goes. So far, we lose 1 mana this turn. We don't bank all 3, but that's fine. We have the spell mana for Troll Chant. We have the discounts for the Ancient Yetis. Pretty good. I could see Gravitum being annoying from Aphelios, but we should be fine. Just passing. This hand must be slightly awkward. Let's just slam an Ancient Yeti, and let's keep this other one and see what we can do with it later. An open attack could be good here to chip in the damage for Wolf Rider, and then start playing more of our bigger units. Red card, that's good actually. Much as I would love to keep these, I don't think it's worth it because he can block with Aphelios anyway. So let's just save Troll Chant for our more important cards. Our Precious Pets already did the damage and did the roll they were supposed to. So we can open attack here. We can get the Wolf Rider damage for the Plunder. And then we can keep this in hand. Like, yeah, there's some consideration to summon this, but it is going to keep discounting, which is very nice. We can even get to a point where it costs like 0, which should be amazing. Alright. We lose all our mana, but now we have more mana to work with. So we can start slamming down our big units. This is what I was talking about with, like, once you get Wolf Rider after, you just keep slamming down big unit after big unit after big unit. We really want to draw Decisive Maneuver. Decisive Maneuver is so strong. I would like to keep this alive if it was up to me. I guess he's going to kill it later with Calrum anyway. We'll save Troll Chant for a more important spot. I kind of telegraphed a little bit by thinking, though. He's going to get Gravitum, right? Okay. This is really strong against this deck. These are all threats. This will probably have to run its course, because we need to save the Culling Strike for level Twisted Fate, or if Aphelios is getting out of hand. The scary part is you can buff this with Pale, so this is definitely our safest card to remove. And we probably need to remove it before it levels up anyway. Alright. Get Alpha Wildclaw here. On the open attack without Hush, he doesn't really have much answers to the Overwhelm units. And we're still at 19, so yes, he might have more units in the field than us, but ours are beefier, and we have much more health to work with. So I think overall we're in a really strong spot. Gravitum will definitely be annoying, though, and I'm sure if he plays a 1-mana card, it'll phase Gravitum. Because that's Gravitum. But this is good, though, because we can just kill the Twisted Fate here. We want to kill it now in case, like, he draws 3, we use Culling Strike, and then he can burst level with, like, Guiding Touch and Pale Cascades. Also, it fixes our mana, which is nice. So we have a few options here. Oh, that's strong. We can open attack here, because he has Gravitum, so we might as well open attack. He can heal with Star Shaping, but we also have Battle Fury in this open attack. As much as I did want to summon Ancient Yeti and Darius in the same turn, I can't deny that Gravitum would be really good against us. I think we should put this on the Ancient Yeti to keep its health pretty high. Because now these are both out of range of Calibrum, and we're threatening lethal. This Guiding Touch? Hush. Wow. That's really strong, but the cool thing is Hush is only for the turn, and Battle Fury is permanent. So we should have a permanent lead buff card here.
I'm always up for a round.
Okay. He can't use Gravitum or Calibrum or anything, so this is going to live, which means that it will return to its buffed state, if you will, after this turn. Alright. 13-6, 7-5. Gravitum is for 2 turns of stun, so it is really strong against us, but overall we're fine. We can play this, and this turn with Troll Chant, I think, right? 2, it's 8, and then 2, yep. Alright, since it's a follower, this will also be stunned during the next attack, but we're overall in a really strong spot here. I think it's safest to play Darius. I don't want them to know we have a 1-mana Ancient Yeti, because usually your opponent can't just burst for like 1-mana 5/5 Overwhelm, so we should probably conceal that we have this until we need to play it. This can't really be bothered that much, like, at least with Calibrum, it can't be targeted, and with Gravitum, okay, never mind. With Gravitum, it'll only be stunned for the turn. Nothing to do about that. We can play another one next turn, though, which is nice. Alright. So I guess this is a good time to play the Ancient Yeti. I don't think he can attack anyway, because we have, like, this, but okay, that's fine. Also fine. Alright, let's also see what he faced, so off the Gravitum, he got Crescendum, so his next moon weapon will be the one that summons a Octopus from the deck. Decisive Maneuver would be like a phenomenal draw here, but so is Battle Fury. Let's get the damage in here. I like attacking with this because if he blocks with the more health units on this, then he won't be able to block as much damage with Overwhelm. Does that make sense? Like, the 3-1 blocks here is a bad trade for him, so he'd want to block the 3-1 on these, I guess. But then it's more Overwhelm damage. So you do threaten a bit more damage by playing Omen Hawk, by forcing to block with his higher health units here, or we get a trade on the Wiggly Whirlfish. Okay, he's going to need Star Shaving to live here. Okay. This is what I'm saying about the Overwhelm damage. Technically, Omen Hawk doesn't really matter, but it can potentially push one more damage. Alright, we had Battle Fury too. We did. Decisive knew we were great there too. Cool. Alright, so we just end up beating the mostly agreed upon best deck in the game, with Overwhelm showing it's really good against all kinds of things. I think this deck's amazing. It's been popping up a lot more. It's a fun new style of aggro to play. It's very different from the ones that go wide with the burn spells. Many different variants with Sejuani, with Tryndamere, with Allegiance. You have cool stuff to try out and test with. Decisive Maneuver is absolutely amazing. I wish that I could have showed you just how strong it is, but a lot of the instances we drew Battle Fury, we could have also drawn Decisive Maneuver and would have pushed for potentially even more damage. So yeah, amazing stuff. I'm streaming every day at Twitch, 6:30 p.m. EST. I know I've been off and on with streaming because I've been practicing for the seasonal tournament off stream, as well as doing like school stuff. But yeah, amazing. I want to know what videos you guys want to see in the comments below. Any improvements to the video. I've seen people say like, oh, maybe talk slower because I talk fast, or don't have to read every card's text. So any improvements, anything you guys want, but feel free to follow, subscribe on Twitch, on YouTube. But I'll catch you guys later, and I'm gonna continue to keep making videos for you guys. That way to have the high level guides and all kinds of different decks you guys can experiment with, and I love to help out. So yeah, talk to you guys later. Peace.